Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Deciding to Soar, Living Life Your Own Way. I'm Sharon Jamison, and I'm so grateful that you are here. I honor your time, your energy, and your presence. Well, today's episode is a little different because it started off as an important conversation with a group about the difference between feeling needed and feeling valued, as we all discern when to use our time and our talent and our advocacy with organizations, with faith-based settings, as well as in our families. And so you will be joining us in the middle of that conversation because as we were talking, I knew that it was something that more people could benefit from. So enjoy the conversation. Thank you for being here. And after you listen, please share it with other people who you feel might be struggling with understanding the difference between feeling valued and feeling needed. Thanks so much again and enjoy the conversation. We are living in a time of deep, deep need. And if we are honest, everywhere we turn, someone is asking or really needing our help. They are needing and requesting your time, your money, your voice, your vote, your skills, your expertise, your energy. And for justice-minded people, people with big hearts and bold missions, the call to help and the call for help is really hard to ignore. But let me say this with love and a lot of peace and a lot of honesty. If you are not careful, you will confuse being needed with being valued. And that confusion could cost you your health, your joy, your well-being, and it can even jeopardize your purpose. And that's what I want to talk about today. Hi, for people who might be joining us for the very first time. My name is Sharon Jamison, and welcome to Deciding to Soar, Living Life Your Own Way. It's a podcast where we talk about what it means to live with conviction and compassion and clarity, especially in this chaotic world. And today's conversation is a necessary one, and it may be an uncomfortable one, especially for those of you who are deeply committed to justice and healing and advocacy and service. Because while having a big heart and a big mission is important, you cannot allow yourself to be consumed by every cry for help. And I know that can be difficult to hear from me, a healer and a minister and an advocate, but we really must learn how to discern between being needed and being valued. And we have to do that for our own good. Because if we're honest, we are surrounded by need. Everywhere we look, people are struggling, systems are breaking, communities are crying out, our institutions are crumbling. And for those of us who care, and I know that you care because you would not be listening to this podcast, it can feel wrong to turn away. It can make us feel guilty. And so as a result, we say yes, even when we need to say no. And when we say yes, that means that we are joining committees and we are leading charges. We are raising funds. We are volunteering and we are showing up. And while that willingness to show up and volunteer is honorable, if we don't evaluate when and how we show up, and if we don't stop to evaluate where we are being truly valued and not just used or used up, we will end up feeling exhausted and resentful and bitter and obligated. And I know that's uncomfortable for us to consider, but I want to say the truth out loud because we have to be clear about something. Being needed means that your time, your talent, or your presence is desired because it helps meet a goal or it helps fulfill a need. However, being valued is something different. Being valued means that your wisdom, your boundaries, your wholeness, and your well-being are honored, and they are seen as essential to fulfilling a mission or a goal. They are seen as something that has to be considered in every request or relationship. So here is the difference when you are considering taking action. When you are needed, you are called when you need to put out a fire. You are praised for your output or your contributions. You are expected to give endlessly and sacrificially, even when you're tired. You are used to fulfill a function. Now, on the opposite end is when you are valued, you are invited in during the planning stages. So you are expected or invited to participate in the planning and not just participate when everybody is panicking. You are appreciated for your insight and your foresight and your vision. When you are valued, people understand that you are a limited commodity, so they understand that you need to rest and that your boundaries should be respected and expected. And people honor you for who you are, not just for what you can do and what you can provide. And so here's a tool I teach to my clients, but also something that I personally live by. And it's the 4-step process. And that process is pause, process, proceed, walk in peace. Pause, proceed, walk in peace. So, for example, when someone asks you for help, your energy, your labor, for you to volunteer, first pause. And if it's not an emergency, don't react from a place of guilt or urgency, right? Now, if it's emergency again, of course you want to jump in and fill in because somebody's life is on the line or there's a deep need. But if not, just pause so that you can make an intentional decision. Secondly, process. Ask yourself, do I feel like a partner or just a plug in a hole? And is this a pattern or is this part of my purpose? And then proceed only if it feels aligned. You don't have to volunteer for everything. You don't have to always act out of obligation or fear or emotional manipulation because that happens a lot in faith-based settings. So make sure that you are operating from a place of destiny and not just duty. And then walk in peace. And that means stand firm in your decision, knowing that you are making a decision to protect your boundaries, protect your peace, and also to contribute in ways that keep you whole. We have to remember that service is something that we will always do. And so you don't want to contribute in places where you feel used or used up. So here are 4 reflective questions to ask yourself before you say yes, before you volunteer, before you say, that you will volunteer and give of your service out of guilt. One, ask yourself, where am I volunteering from a sense of duty, but not from a place of joy? Where am I volunteering only from a sense of duty, but not from a place of joy or from a place of purpose, our mission, our destiny? Second question, what continues or who continues to call you but never checks on you? Again, who continues to call you to help but never checks on you to see how you're doing when they don't need anything from you? The third question is, what organizations or relationships would absolutely collapse if you stopped overfunctioning? Again, what organizations and relationships would absolutely collapse if you stopped overfunctioning, which lets you know that the organization does not have the infrastructure to really support people long term. Then the fourth thing is, does this event, relationship, mission align with my purpose, my morals, and my values? Because you just don't want to give to places that you don't agree with. So what I really want you to remember when you are serving, as well as when you are in relationships, it's not good to constantly pour out without being poured into. Because yes, you deserve to work and to serve and to show up in places where your soul feels seen. You deserve to feel that you are important and that you are respected and not just used for your skill set or for your labor. So this is something that is hard, but I want you to really keep this in your spirit. Being needed might make you feel important, but being valued reminds you that you are sacred. I want to say that again because I want you to hold it in your spirit. Being needed might make you feel important, but being valued reminds you that you are sacred. It reminds you that you're human. So when we look at all of the chaos in the world, in our communities, in our organizations, on our jobs, it's really important to remember that this moment in history calls for your brilliance, but it does not call for your burnout. It requires your energy, but it does not require your exhaustion. This moment requires you to care, but it also requires that you feel cared about. And it's really important that you remember that you are not here on this earth to be a part of everyone's emergency response team. You're not. You are here to serve strategically, to love intentionally, to lead sustainably, to give with your whole heart, in your whole hand, out of your abundance and out of your overflow, but not to give out of your necessity. And if you are navigating decisions about how to serve, where to help, or who to stay connected to, I really want you to invite you to a workshop where we are talking about this very thing. Because I feel like sometimes we have to remember being valued is about being seen for your essence. It's about respect and reciprocity. It's about feeling acknowledged and being held with care, not just being asked to do something out of convenience. And so if this workshop sounds like something that will resonate with you, I want you to join me for a 90-minute soul-centered session where we explore how to show up in relationships and in movements and in our jobs and our leadership when we volunteer. So we can make choices that are sustainable, but also sacred. And in our session together, we're going to leave with language for what we might be feeling, but we couldn't name because we feel guilty by saying no when there's so much need in the world. You also leave with tools to help set boundaries so you can move from a place of grace and not guilt, from a place of destiny and not duty. And also, we will map out how to move through this world, especially during chaotic times and in challenging relationships, from a place of discernment and not depletion. So I want you to really think about joining me. I will leave the link below. And remember, it's okay to protect your spirit and protect your peace as you are also working to serve and protect the world. So until next time, please pause and process, proceed so you can walk in peace. And always, I want you to dare to soar higher in all that you do and all that you say. And if this message resonates with you, please share it with other people who might be struggling to say no in their relationships and no as they serve and as they volunteer. And please subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast, because your support is important for us getting the word out to help people soar higher in everything so that they remember that they are valued and not just needed, so that they remember that the best is still yet to come. Thanks so much for joining me, and blessings to you always.